And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And, of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, today we're going to be following up on your girl. That's Ilhan Omar. She's on the screen there. You know that in her state, in her city, that's Minneapolis, Minnesota, for y'all who don't know. Yeah, they have one of the biggest fraud situations maybe that the United States has ever seen. You know, I mean, at least going back 100 years. There's so much fraud there, y'all. The Feeding Our Future fraud. There's an autism center fraud. There's a housing stability fraud. Today, we're going to focus on the housing stability fraud and the fact that they have the first person who has pleaded guilty. Now, you might say, okay, well, we've heard so much fraud out of Minnesota. Like, why is this one important? Well, check this out. The report says that there are over 100 different organizations that have been taken out of the housing stability system on credible allegations of fraud. Okay, get that. Just think about a McDonald's. Think about a Subway. Just think about 100 different locations. How hard would it be for you to find 100 different McDonald's or 100 different even gas stations? Like if you had to put 100 together, like, yo, I'm driving around like I'm counting. Over 100 different organizations in Minnesota have been taken out of the system, out of this housing stability system on credible allegations of fraud, y'all. So we're going to take a look into that today. We're going to give a panorama, though. We're going to give a panorama of the fraud situation. KARE 11 in Minnesota, they're doing an excellent job. They are like the fraud detectives. So we're going to take a look at their report. Then finally, y'all, we have a lot going on today, y'all. So this is a sit back and relax. I'm telling you, if you haven't sat back and relaxed, sit back and relax. This is going to be a nice long one today. Then we're going to get into some crazy violence, y'all. There are parts of Minneapolis that are so violent that security companies won't even work there, y'all. The money's not even good. Just think about that. Think about how violent it has to be, and you're going to see some of this today. Think about how violent a place has to be where it's like, nah, man, we not even taking your money to work there, man. And then the very last story we're going to look at is... Y'all, the former head of the Chamber of Commerce, I believe it was, he was committing fraud, y'all. Y'all, oh my gosh. Anyway, y'all, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before we do, y'all, we have a new webpage for my people out there who are like, yo, I have money, but I don't want to give it away to the people who are trying to take it. How can I protect my retirement? Y'all, gold. How many times do I have to tell you? Gold has been man's longest monetary best friend for 5,000 years. I mean, what else are you looking for? Go to our webpage. Go to the new webpage, Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com. Get the information on how to protect your retirement. And you can call 844-651-8334 and speak to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals. Now let's go ahead and hop into this content.
There are overlapping names in some of these fraud cases. The woman now charged in the autism program scheme is also charged in the case that put Minnesota in the national spotlight for government fraud.
Feeding Our Future became a household name, and for all the wrong reasons. 250 million taxpayers' dollars stolen from a program to feed kids during the pandemic.
$250 million.
A brazen scheme of staggering proportions.
The largest pandemic fraud in the United States.
The subjects in this case weren't interested in feeding our future. They were interested in feeding their own gluttony.
That was more than 3 years ago when federal prosecutors announced the first 47 Feeding Our Future indictments. But turns out that was just the beginning, and this investigation is still growing tonight.
Investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen has been following this story every step of the way.
Now, in case you're unfamiliar with this, look at these two people on your screen. You have Omar Fateh and you have Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is a United States representative, and what you see her doing right there is feeding our future, y'all. This is Omar feeding our future. Do you understand? She worked. That's Safari. That is the restaurant. She promoted this scam. Omar Fateh. He actually, not only did he promote the scam, okay, did they know it was a scam at the time? I don't know. But not only did he promote the scam, but when the governor, Tim Walz, tried to shut it down, you're seeing him on the screen, Omar Fateh actually led a rebellion because, look, Walz said, hey, this looks like a scam. Omar Fateh actually led a rebellion saying, yo, you better bring it back, fool. So y'all, and you're going to get more information about Omar Fateh here shortly. But let's just say you have Ilhan Omar. She's a United States representative from Minnesota. You have Omar Fateh. He is a state representative. He's a state senator. So she's on the national level. He's on the state level. And is there any coincidence that now she's endorsing him when they both endorsed the Feeding Our Future fraud, y'all?
Well, I'm excited to announce that I will be supporting Senator Fateh for the mayor of the city of Minneapolis.
Our Congresswoman, who I'm really excited to have her support.
And with that, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar put her stamp of approval on a grateful State Senator Omar Fateh.
So again, we'll come back to some more information about Fateh here shortly, but let's pop back over to the Feeding Our Future fraud again, just for the people who don't know.
It quickly became the ultimate get-rich-quick scheme.
But the woman and the nonprofit at the center of it all,
Feed Our Future team,
went from fame to infamy overnight. Everyone involved got paid through the federal child nutrition program. What started at $3 million in federal aid exploded to nearly $200 million in 2021.
Now, y'all, here you are about to see one of the craziest, most brazen things that you will ever see. A fraudster, a group of fraudsters, people who are literally defrauding the state and the United States government to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Once the authorities, as I previously said, once they caught on to it and they were like, yo, this doesn't look right, and they stopped the money, they actually sued, y'all. The fraudster sued to keep the money, and Omar Fateh, even though he wasn't one of the people suing, he supported the fraudsters in their lawsuit to get the money back online, y'all.
Feed my kids! Feed my kids!
When the Minnesota Department of Education first raised concerns, Bach sued them, and the money kept flowing.
We know you're violating the law. We know they're being discriminatory.
Yet it was Bach and 46 others first indicted on a variety of federal charges. Fake meal count sheets such as these at the center of the government's case. Dozens of groups sponsored by Feeding Our Future, falsely claiming to feed thousands of kids and collecting millions of taxpayer dollars.
Now here on this X account, they point to a Star Tribune article on Omar Fateh. Okay. Now, here are some details on Fateh, on his past. It says, now, after he tried to win elected office in Virginia and in Minnesota, it says 2 years later, he challenged veteran DFL Senator Jeff Hayden. Running as a self-identified Democratic Socialist, Fateh won the DFL Senate district endorsement during a virtual convention that May. Hayden questioned the validity of the results, saying his campaign was unable to verify the addresses of nearly half of the delegates. A credentials committee declined to remove the delegates, and Fateh went on to win the primary in the heavily Democratic district that August. Yet questions about the election would continue to follow Fateh after he took his seat, especially after the FBI began looking into allegations of voter fraud. The federal investigation focused on the misuse of the absentee ballot agent delivery process, in which elderly or ill voters could have a friend, family member, or someone else they designate deliver their ballot to an election office, but in the end, only one person was charged. Now, who was this person? This person was Muse Muhammad, okay? He had volunteered for Fateh's 2020 campaign. After he was convicted of perjury, Fateh disclosed that Muhammad was his brother-in-law, y'all. Fateh had previously told DFL leadership he had no relationship with the man, y'all. Can you make this up? Now, y'all, this was back in 2020 and 2021 time frame, okay? So that was back in 2020 and 2021 timeframe. Now, during the most recent election that Fate is involved in, which is for the mayor of Minneapolis, there were more irregularities. Go figure. More irregularities. He had actually won an endorsement, and wouldn't you know it, they rescinded his endorsement. The DFL, the Democratic Party of Minneapolis, they were forced to rescind his endorsement due to the current irregularities.
Just hours ago, the DFL revoked its endorsement of State Senator Omar Fate. The party called the voting process flawed.
Mayor Frye's campaign went a step further, calling it brazen cheating. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni joins us now. And Mike, the DFL is putting the Minneapolis chapter of the DFL on probation over this.
And it is also barring the Minneapolis DFL from conducting another endorsing convention this year. This all started last month when the party met at Target Center to endorse a mayoral candidate. Fate won the endorsement over 4 others, including Frye. Now, at the time, Frye's campaign called the convention extremely flawed and irregular. Those are quotes. The DFL found the convention undercounted by 176 votes and erroneously dropped Dwayne Davis after the first ballot. He's one of the candidates. The party also says organizers lost the delegate credentials book for an entire ward and did not properly secure the check-in sheet.
So before we finish with Fate, y'all, don't forget how he helped to pass legislation that would directly benefit his wife's business. Emergency, urgent legislation, y'all.
Right up front, I want to be clear. We found no evidence of billing fraud here. However, we did discover something raising what a legal expert labels serious ethical concerns. Senator Omar Fate's wife was a listed owner of a housing stabilization company, even as the senator and current Minneapolis mayoral candidate himself was pushing legislation to fast-track client approvals for the taxpayer-funded program.
Senator Fate, Senate File 2741.
A bill that will address a critical delay in access to Housing Stabilization Services, also known as HSS.
It's March 24th, 2025, and Senator Omar Fate is the sole author of a bill he says will speed up access for people to be approved for HSS, a Medicaid-funded program to help the elderly and disabled find and maintain housing.
HSS is a lifeline.
A lifeline moving too slow, the senator says, because at DHS, there was a months-long enrollment backlog as the agency was overwhelmed by the number of people being signed up.
Delays that are putting people at risk of eviction, extended homelessness, and service lapses.
All right, y'all. So let's get back on track, though. I'm just giving you some ideas about the characters that are at play in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. So we started this video talking about there's a housing services fraud, and someone has pled guilty in that case. So let's jump back on track, y'all, and let me show you a little bit more about that.
Breaking developments in KARE 11's ongoing housing hustle investigation and the first guilty plea in a sweeping federal fraud case tied to Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services program. The charges were brought in the wake of reporting by AJ Legault and our investigative team as they exposed fake meetings, forged signatures, and taxpayer money stolen. AJ joins us now with the latest on this story. AJ?
Now, Jen, a systematic and wholesale attack on Minnesota's Medicaid system. That's how federal prosecutors described what happened inside the state's Housing Stabilization Services program, or HSS. And now, one of the business owners at the center of our investigation is admitting guilt.
A company called Liberty Plus LLC offered Housing Stabilization Services, or HSS, a Medicaid benefit to help find and maintain stable housing.
Ad in the bathroom at Holiday. Like they had a pamphlet, like a flyer that said, need housing, need help with housing, Housing Stabilization Services, and they put their name and their number.
Julie called, gave them her Medicaid insurance info. Then she waited for help through a freezing Minnesota winter. Help that never came, even as Medicaid was billed in her name.
So y'all, right now the United States government is currently closed, right? And there is a huge debate about health care. Medicaid, Medicare, all of those, they're all healthcare related, y'all. Look at the amount of fraud that's happening in these systems, y'all. Just take a look at the amount of fraud, y'all.
When KARE 11 began investigating HSS companies, we found Liberty Plus's website to be as hollow as their promise to help Julie. It was just filled with stock images of people named Caregiver Name. Following KARE's reporting, there was an FBI-led raid on Adow's home, and he was among the 8 defendants charged in what the DOJ called the first wave of indictments. Anwar pled guilty Thursday morning to wire fraud, receiving $1.2 million in Medicaid billing as part of the conspiracy, telling his employees to bill as much as they could, and he wouldn't scrutinize the purported billable hours.
So how much fraud is actually going down with this program, or was? Who knows? It's probably still going on. Who knows? As I said earlier in the video, over 100 businesses have now been suspended on credible allegations. Check this out.
And we know 115 individual businesses have been stopped from billing Medicaid due to what the state labels credible allegations of fraud. Will there be charges in each and every one of those cases? We don't know.
Yeah, a huge story. Thanks for following.
So yeah, y'all, this has been a kind of a windy, twisty, turny Minnesota-Minneapolis fraud expose, bringing a lot of different stories that we followed together. But I promised y'all a look at an area of Minneapolis that's so dangerous that not even paid security firms will work there, y'all.
This summer, we told you about a Minneapolis man whose apartment struggled to hire security to protect the tenants. The area near the intersection of 1st Avenue South and East 19th Street was so overrun with crime that security guards say they couldn't control it. Now, the building owner is showing our Frankie McLister startling video of what's happening.
It's a sunny Thursday morning in the Stevens Square neighborhood.
Usually there's several people standing right here dealing drugs.
Where Jim Rubin manages 600 properties, give or take.
This crime is on my front step.
And describes his daily drop by.
I have to see people lined up here, standing here, sitting on my front step, openly dealing drugs.
Videos he shared show what he witnesses.
The reason we're not seeing it is it's a little chilly, but we also have us walking around with the camera, so they're not gonna come out now.
Do you think they're watching?
Yeah. Yep.
So we watched from afar, a tinted window from above on the corner of 19th and Nicollet.
It's right in the open. You can see the drugs and you can see the cash.
In August, one of Rubin's tenants said that Mint Properties, the company Rubin owns, hired a security firm, but the firm backed out. A topic that the tenant took to TikTok.
They decided the problems with crime exceed their resources to control.
That's actually the 4th security firm that we've tried to hire to help police this area.
A problem so vast, he spoke to the police chief himself.
You remember that conversation?
Yes. The main driver of the issue is people that are hanging out, either smoking marijuana or selling marijuana.
The mayor race is still ongoing, and Fate is going to be, they're saying he has maybe a 1 out of 3 or greater chance. They're saying he might have up to a 1 out of 3 chance of winning the mayor. Y'all, this could be the mayor of Minneapolis, y'all. Now, again, do I have anything personal against him? No. I mean, there are a lot of allegations. He hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been charged with anything. Just a lot of, allegations around his name. And your girl, Ilhan Omar, has a similar amount of allegations around her name. Nothing's ever happened to her either. Not saying that I hope it. Not saying that I think anything should happen. But y'all, let me know what you think about this. Why is all of this happening in Minnesota? And you know what the states always say, hey, we just need more money. We need to invest more money in this. Man, we need to find out what's happening with the money you're getting now. That's what we need. Then we can determine what the true need is. We can't just keep throwing money into a black hole, people. Let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. What are your comments about this story, y'all? Drop a comment down below, but before you do, please stop, hit the share button, share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all of your favorite social mediums. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. To my people with the retirement, go down, click the link, Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com. Get the information on protecting your retirement from the upsies, downsies, roundsies, and roundsies. You can also reach out to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals at 844-651-8334. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.
Really some stunning charges tonight as the former Minneapolis Chamber CEO is indicted for allegedly embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars, including taking reward money for cases involving kids. Araya Katena has the latest on these developments now. Raya?
Jonathan Weinhagen is accused of using some of that money on first-class plane tickets and oceanfront hotel rooms for him and his family. The chamber tells me Weinhagen resigned last year after an internal investigation into the organization's finances.
But an indictment filed on Wednesday by the Department of Justice accuses him of embezzling more than $200,000 from the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce while working as its CEO. Weinhagen is also accused of stealing $30,000 in reward money meant to help solve crimes involving children. The chamber contributed that money to Crime Stoppers, but a year later, court documents say Weinhagen asked them to give the money back by mailing the check to his home address.
Some greedy, heartless monster took $30,000 out of a fund of some innocent children's justice reward money. That is just unheard of.